It's 1947, and Abraham Cahan is sitting in his office at 175 East Broadway, listening to the radio broadcasts from London. Trumpets blare, crowds cheer on the grainy recording. Across the Atlantic, a jubilant Britain celebrates the nuptials of Princess Elizabeth to Philip Mountbatten, Duke of Edinburgh. 500,000 people stood in the streets of London, Cahan describes, as if he is standing right there. The origins of remote news aggregation. In his classic slightly pompous style, Cahan notes with sarcasm that, "We shouldn't be so amazed by the size of the crowds. For his Republicans, we are confident that if New York would have a royal wedding, it would be a far larger crowd here than in London. I suppose crowd size has been something to compete about long before 2017. Forward archives. It's fascinating to look back in the archives of the forwards and see how even Cahan, the staunch democratic socialist, couldn't contain his own excitement over the royal wedding. Even the editor of the left-leaning newspaper of the Jewish Workman found himself moved by the promise of a fairy tale romance, Elizabeth choosing love despite some disapproving glances from others. But this historic moment was more than just about the bouquets. For Britain, for the world, and for Jews worldwide, it represented the seeds of renewal for a war-ravaged Europe. In his editorial, Cahan describes the suffering of the English during the war, those who survived the hell of the Blitz, who for so long battled the Hitler regime, and are still forced to undergo shortages. The royal family, with all of its issues, arouses deep feelings of long-gone England and its pride, its traditions, he writes. The king is a loyal servant of the government that will be chosen by the majority of the free British people. The English people are still loyal to the dynasty, with its red coats and fur hats and beautiful carriage, as long as the dynasty is still loyal to them. Unsigned reports in the forwards described the ceremony, the overjoyed fever of London streets, and the impossible-to-describe, elaborate wardrobe of the bride. Whether it's a good shidduch remains to be seen, wrote one report. As Philip cannot be king, he will have to obey Elizabeth. The implication, of course, that this gender imbalance might cause problems, a man having to obey his wife. Forward archives a photo spread of the royal wedding, 1947. For American Jews living in the aftermath of World War II, even the most critical of monarchy, the British throne meant something, albeit something complicated. It symbolized order after chaos, victory over evil, and in 1947, the key to a future Jewish state in Palestine. For context, note the date of the wedding. Elizabeth and Philip tied the knot just as the Palestine partition plan was about to be unveiled, a week away. For Jews all over, the symbolism was powerful. It was the wish fulfillment of an exhausted nation, as Elizabeth Grice described it in a 2017 retrospective piece in The Telegraph. In a day of unashamed opulence and sentimentality, post-war rationing was forgotten, the disappointing dreadness of victory set aside. Here's the cover page of the forwards the next day, Friday, November 21, 1947, Forward Archives front cover of the forwards, in November 21, 1947. Headlines scream that England will give Eretz Yisrael to the UN Commission, not to interim government, while Stern gang kill 5 Arab informants, Arabs attack bus wounding 9 Jews, just as a London report lower down describes the royal wedding ceremony in detail. For Jews around the world, this was more than Cahan. They were hoping that the new generation of British leadership would support their right to self-determination. Avital Chizik Goldschmidt is the life editor at The Forward. Follow her on Twitter at Avital Rachel.